Hey, what's going on? Luke here, and unfortunately for today's video, we're going to be talking about Tom Trbojevic, yet again another injury for him, yet again another hamstring injury for him. Now, I don't think it's any secret that hamstring injuries have been a problem for Tom Trbojevic, especially throughout his whole career, really. And I think we've all seen what it's done to some other players like Matt Moylan, Kieran Foran. Probably the most high-profile ones, definitely Kieran Foran. We've seen his hamstring literally destroy his career. Went from being probably the best 5'8" in the game to sort of just being just another player. When he's on the park, fantastic. But he's not on the park very often. And this is becoming the same sort of thing for Tom Trbojevic. When he's on the park, you could say he's the best fullback in the game. He's at least one of the top three, you would say. And I think if he stayed on the park for a whole season, I think he's capable of winning a Dally M and even becoming the best fullback. We can never really say he's going to become that because he usually plays 10, 15 games, does his hamstring at some point. Now, this time he's done it before the season's even started. And I think he did that last year. I think he's done it one of the seasons before the season started. So, once again, it's becoming a habit and it's very hard for Manly. They've got so much money invested in him. You can't afford to be having your best player not playing. Now, I know the highest paid player at Manly is Trbojevic, and he's on the park all the time, and that's why you can kind of justify his salary. You got Jake on there as well, who's, I'd say, would be on a pretty good chunk of money as well. Marty Tapau, they're all living up to their money. Tom Trbojevic isn't. As good as he is on the field, we've seen when he's on the field, Manly are a whole different side. I remember before he got injured last year, they beat the Roosters, and who knows what they would have been able to do. Instead, he gets injured for most of the season. They have to play guys like Ruben Garrick, Brandon Elliott, even in the back end of the season, I can't even remember the guy's name. They played a couple of youngsters there, sort of just throwing guys in the fullback role because he was always injured. Now, as you can tell by the title, I'm going to be talking about why I think he needs to change positions, and I think the perfect example is Matt Moylan. Matt Moylan played the same position as him, although they played different styles. Matt Moylan was sort of that sort of silky sort of playmaker sort of fullback, had a lot of speed, but didn't have the speed Trbojevic had. And also, Trbojevic is just a lot more powerful. He is a lot faster. He's a lot bigger, a lot more bulkier. He is a lot better player in general. I think he had a higher ceiling than Matt Moylan. But Matt Moylan was still a really, really good fullback. I think because of the injuries and all that sort of stuff now, we kind of forget how good Matt Moylan actually was at the Panthers, which is kind of sad because he was actually really good. Played for New South Wales at fullback, and he's kind of just a forgotten man. Now, he has transitioned to 5'8", and I think he's transitioned pretty well. The problem is, once again, he's still injured. But I think Tom Trbojevic needs to do the same. Now, I don't necessarily think you just chuck him into the halves. I feel like that seems to be a lot of the moves fullbacks try and make. They go, oh, we can play fullback. Darren Lockyer has done it. Let's chuck him in at 5'8". I don't know if that's a move. I know Jerome Hughes has done a good job, but it's not for everyone. And I mean, Manly have already got one broken down half in the halves in Kieran Foran, who's got the same issues. So they're already kind of covered in the halves. They've had Dylan Walker there. They've got that Schuster there. I think the halves is kind of, they don't need him in the halves. Where I'd play him is at centre. It's just less toll on the body, and we've seen him actually excel there in the centres for New South Wales and Australia, so I think he can do a good job there, and also he can be a strike centre without having to do so much running and a lot of sprinting and that sort of stuff. You can still get a lot out of Tommy T without him having to bust his ass all the time. And you can also see him get in there, do some of those hard yards. I think it'd be good for them and be effective for them to have a strike centre. So I know Moses Sully, he can kind of do it, but he's not, I wouldn't say he's a strike centre. He's so rocks and diamonds, or I think Tommy Turbo, I think he could kill it. And we saw in Manly were at their best. They had some really good centres. Steve Maddai, Jamie Lyon, super consistent. And I can see with hamstring injuries in particular, you lose a lot, and there's always that question marks over, oh, when's it going to go next? Not like, oh, well, he should be alright for the rest of the season. Like, you know, when a person does their knee, that used to be like a career killer. You see them do their knee and you're like, well, they're gone. Now, not so much. With all the new surgeries and all that sort of stuff, I mean, you can come back from them. I mean, you don't want too many of them, but you can definitely come back from them. But I think it also depends on what position you play in. And for Tom Trbojevic, he's doing the hamstring over and over. It is a position that they need to do a lot of running, a lot of sprinting. You see players all the time talk about when they move from wing to fullback, or we've seen like Anthony Milford, good example, moves from 5'8" to fullback to 5'8". They always talk about how tired they are. Latrell Mitchell is probably an even better example. They always talk about how fatigued they are going to fullback, how much more running they have to do. And for Tom Trbojevic, running really doesn't seem to be his friend here. There's a lot of speculation on how he actually did the injury. There's video going around. I'll play it on the screen as I'm talking. But there's video going around. He was taking on a fan named Harry, Tigers fan, and I think he actually dusted him in a foot race. But they're talking about, oh, well, that's when he's pulled the hemi. Now, I've also seen the NRL physio come out and say, look, it's not really possible. We would have seen him really pull up, despite him being on the drink and that. He would have actually felt it, and he definitely would have pulled up, where you don't really see him do that. However, it's just whether he's done that or whether his actual story of just getting out of the bath or whatever it was, toilet, whatever he's doing in the bathroom, if that's all it takes for your hamstring to go, that's not a good sign for a professional athlete. And I know Denim Kemp's talked about it as well, and he said the Trbojevic boys have terrible flexibility, and that's probably a part of it with your hamstrings and that. But yeah, just the hamstring it's like an injury where I've started to talk about it before, but with the knees, it was like that was your career over. You're done. Like your knee's done. There's not really too much coming back from it. You might come and play a couple of games, but you'll never be as good as what you were. Not so much now. The hamstring seems to be the new one. Players doing their hamstrings and their career's done. And like we touched on earlier, Kieran Foran, Matt Moylan, perfect example. They're still decent players when they're on the park. They're still pretty good, but they're not ever going to be the level that they were, and they're not even going to get close. And Tom Trbojevic is so close to being there. I'd say he is at that point. He's 6 seasons in the NRL. He's played less than 100 games. That seems pretty ridiculous, especially they've made the finals a couple of times. It just shows that he's been injured a lot. This is his 7th year. Who knows what's going to happen for Tommy T? But like I said, I think centre is the move for him. I think you chuck him in the centres. You find a new fullback. I think just for the longevity of Tom Trbojevic, look, you can have him play fullback and he'll play a good couple of games probably, but then he's going to pull his hamstring again. And what makes it worse is the hamstring injury is something that it just goes. It's not like he's fallen under tackles awkwardly or his legs got caught somewhere and he's fallen over and he's twisted or just his arms got, I don't know, an elbow or something into it and he's just dislocated his arm. No, this is something where he's just running, which you just got to do all the time at fullback, and it's just going, it's just popping. And the fact that now it's happening in the bathroom, I definitely don't think that's a good sign, and I think everybody can see that's not a good sign if that's the actual story. And if it's not, even if it is the whole fact of him just running, you think, oh well, if it's happened then, well, it's probably going to happen at training at some point too. It'll just waiting to happen. Honestly, it actually kind of pains me to sit here and do this video because Tom Trbojevic is a personal favourite of mine. He's not the favourite, but he's one of my favourites. We've seen him for New South Wales how damaging he can be. We've seen him for Manly how damaging he can be. And this is the time where he should be sort of coming into his prime, coming into his element now. And we're not getting to see it because he's just constantly injured all the time. And I just have a feeling that we're never actually going to see how good he could have been. I feel like everybody's going to jump to James Tedesco and say, oh, he had a lot of injuries and that. But his was, like I said, it was a lot of knee injuries and that sort of stuff. It was a lot of injuries they can just do surgery and fix it, where the hamstring, once it's gone, it's kind of gone, and it just progressively gets worse with every injury. And we've already seen Trbojevic is on like 2 or 3 hamstring tears. So yeah, I don't think we're ever going to get to see the potential of Tom Trbojevic, and I don't think we're going to get to see anywhere near that. I think we're just going to see the little highlights every now and again, and we'll look back at all the videos from previous years on YouTube and watch highlights and go, wow, what could have been? I think that's what Tom Trbojevic's career really will be, which is a shame for Manly fans. I think it's a shame for NRL in general, just because you want to see those superstars, but just the hamstring, it's just gone again, and it's kind of, he's already made a porcelain. The whole joke is that, oh, well, when Tom Trbojevic going to get injured again? And I was thinking, oh, well, he's going to be all right now. They've been talking up in the media, oh, well, he's going to see some specialist about how to deal with hamstring injuries, and Kieran Foran's doing the same thing. But it's just a thing where, like, the hamstring as well, even if it doesn't go, they're going to be on such eggshells. They're like, oh, well, I can't stretch out because what if my hamstring goes? I mean, I've seen with Foran, even then, I feel like Foran's body was just, it's broken in general. The hamstring started it. I feel like it would have went anyways, but I feel like he's just not the same. It takes a little while to get the confidence back, and then once the confidence gets back, rugby league is such a physical sport that you're bound to get another injury anyway. So once the injuries start piling on, I mean, if your hamstring's already gone, and then you get another leg injury, I mean, it's just, I feel like it's just a career killer. Anyways, leave in the comment section below, what are your thoughts of Tom Trbojevic? Do you think he should stay at fullback? Do you think he should move to the centres? What do you think of Manly's season? Because I think they're absolutely screwed now. I know it's only to round 4, but we've seen with the hamstrings and that sort of stuff. We saw him come back early before. We've seen him come back, play a couple of games, get injured again. I think it's inevitable that he gets injured again at some point. So what do Manly do? Are they better off trying to get rid of Trbojevic? I really don't know. I really don't know what to do with Tom Trbojevic because the talent's there and you just hope that he can stay injury-free, but I just don't see it happening. But yeah, like I said, leave in the comment section below. What are your thoughts? I think he should move to centre. Is it a good idea? Also, while you're at it, guys, make sure you go ahead and leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. It's very important that you do turn on the notification bell as well, and just subscribe in general. It's also very important, especially with the NRL season coming up. A lot more YouTube pages going around now, so it is important that you do subscribe if you're enjoying the videos. Got plenty more content to make, so yeah, definitely subscribe if you want to see some more of it. Also, go ahead and give me a follow on social media as well. It's on the screen right now. It's Mr. Luke on YT. For the most part, it's Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, all that sort of stuff. Facebook is just Mr. Luke, but everything else is Mr. Luke on YT. Same what's on the screen right now. Just go ahead and give me a follow, give me a like, do all that sort of stuff. But yeah, that's all I got to say for this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. See yous.